All
Great.
right, we are recording. Cool.
Thanks.
Good note. Thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
All right, can we go to the next slide? Okay, I guess we don't really need this slide. We can go to the next one, and I'll toss it to Mark to get us started.
Okay. Thanks very much, Isaac. Hello, everybody. So one of our two priority campaigns is save money with clean heat, or save money and over with clean heat, as uh, we're rebranding it a bit. There are three problems, major problems that we're trying to deal with. Carbon emissions from buildings account for about 40% of all carbon emissions in Massachusetts and elsewhere. It costs too damn much to heat your house, which a lot of people have noticed in a big way this winter when we had a coincidence of a big rate increase and a very cold winter. And the way to solve that problem is to get off gas and off other fossil fuels, but getting off is too complicated to do by yourself. This is why we need the campaign. Next slide. Okay. This is a complex problem, and we have a complex solution here. There are four pieces of legislation that we're going to be advocating for this session. One is to get mass saved assessments to move off kind of the mix and match thing that they've got now into giving people a comprehensive plan to get their home off fossil fuels with a combination of insulating the house, putting in a heat pump of one kind or another, and getting access to low cost electricity, either through solar panels on your roof or through change in the rates that allows people with heat pumps to get reduced electric bills. Then we have to continue the progress we made last session of moving off the gas company plan to expand the gas network to one where the gas network is shrunk by the gas company or by others, so that pipes that are old and expensive to fix are retired rather than replaced, and people move towards network geothermal and other non-emitting energy sources. That's item number two. Item number three, we want to give cities and towns the power, the information they need to plan their own future. That is, to know when the gas company is planning to dig up the streets, and to do that in time so that cities can do an alternative, such as a network geothermal system or another neighborhood electrification program. And finally, we have to get a good place to start with cities and towns is to work on schools to make sure that the schools are healthy and sustainable. In practice, this means insulating the school the way you would insulate a building approximately, but also taking advantage of the fact that almost all schools in the Commonwealth are big flat roofs surrounded by parking lots, which are perfect for solarization, and also in many cases a good location for network geothermal uh, installations. I think, do I have another slide there, or is this it? Okay, yes, so I'm done. So I told you I could do it in a few minutes there. Anyway, so the program has several components. What you'll be talking about is the package and the goal of helping people decarbonize their buildings over the next decade. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Dan, do you want to take this away?
Sounds great. Hey everyone, I'm Dan. I'm the legislative manager with 350 Mass. I think it's mostly familiar faces, but for anyone new, good to have you here. Um, I'm also the co-lead of the Make Polluters Pay campaign with my colleague Rachel, which is the second of our two priority campaigns. The core goals are very simple. We need to pay for a green, equitable future, and we don't want that burden to be exclusively on taxpayers. And so we're going to make sure that those who are responsible, the biggest oil and gas extracting companies, pay billions over the next 25 years. We're going to prioritize environmental justice communities by making sure that 40% of that funding goes towards projects that directly benefit those communities, and workers by making sure that those projects pay their workers a prevailing wage, treat them according to fair labor standards, run apprenticeship programs, and use American-made steel. We're also going to make sure that this funding funds projects all across the state. to keep our communities safe from bad air quality and extreme heat, especially the urban heat island effect that harms some of our most vulnerable environmental justice communities, keeps our communities safe from sea level rise, storm surges, extreme weather of all sorts. Right there, you can see the launch photo from our campaign launch just 2 weeks ago. We're building a movement that brings together labor and climate and progressive voices with youth and environmental justice and public health advocates. And we need you in that movement. And tabling on behalf of Make Polluters Pay and Save Money with Clean Heat is how we build up the movement. So thank you so much for being here. And Isaac, I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan, and thank you both of you for those awesome overviews. Moving into the elevator pitch activity, I think it's very important to just keep in mind, like, when tabling, you're talking to folks who, may not have engaged too much with environmental activism. So knowing your audience is super important on that note. Dan, could you go to the next slide, please? So, um, we're gonna practice a little bit one-on-one, delivering elevator pitches. We're gonna try to we're gonna do 3 iterations. So the first one is gonna be with like a 5-second hook, and then practice giving a 30-second spiel and a full minute spiel, back and forth with your partner. I have some sample questions here that you might get. Again, like, somebody just coming up to your table might say, who are you? What are you doing out here? What organization are you with? And then they might ask, what is 350 Mass? As we just saw, you can give a good couple minutes, which will just be a like very high scale overview of each of these campaigns. So then if somebody asks, what is 350 Mass? You're not going to talk at them for 5 minutes. People are going to get bored. People are going to not be as engaged. So it's important to come up with that hook that might not focus exactly on the campaigns, but more so the work of 350 Mass. So like the grassroots environmental organizing, looking for a clean and just future, all of that, you can hit all of the notes. And then once you draw people in with that hook, you can, go into more detail on different things that they might be showing interest in and stuff like that. And then, the last note before we head into these breakout rooms is that it's like so important to be just to have fun with this. Sometimes it's even more important to, talk about yourself and what got you into this work, more so than just to talk about the technical aspects of campaigns and stuff like that. Those personal connections are what gets people into doing organizing, and what gets people to want to stick around. So, yeah, I think with that being said, we're gonna head into breakout rooms. Does anyone have any questions before we toss y'all into it? And here, I can put some of those questions that I mentioned in the chat so y'all can look at them. And refer back to them just to guide the conversation. All right, cool. Okay, that's fine. I can fill in for you if we can have some.
I'm just going to shuffle around briefly to make sure that Anne's partner isn't there alone. Okay, we're good. Oh, wait, sorry. Just seeing another issue from Tom and Leslie. Anne left. Okay. All good. Cool. Do you want me to open the rooms?
Yeah, that'd be
Cool.
great. Sorry.
All good. So Isaac, do you want to pause the recording for a bit?
just recording. But yeah, I threw y'all in pretty blind without any
Yeah.
examples of like this is what a pitch could be. Just like yeah, I'm interested in what y'all came up with. Does anyone have any reflections?
I chatted with Krista, and one of the things that we talked about briefly about was how the age of the person that you may be talking to makes a difference. You need to think about what is relevant to that person and what would be bring them in.
I was chatting with Mark, and I liked his suggestion that you start with saying, "We need some help," and then do a pitch about the campaigns and Hanscom or whatever, and take it from there.
Especially one of people's first questions will be, if they're engaged, how can I help?
Yeah.
You say we need help. We'll be like, oh great, how can I help?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that connects to
I think it's also, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's also important that they take something home so they can research at home about the organization. And it's inspiring what they take home and it's easy for them to research. So all the information is there to get what they want.
Either on a business card or a quarter page flyer or something to take home with them.
Mhm.
Yeah, great point. Andy, you were going to say something too.
Go ahead, Andy.
saying Larry is very clear about the idea. It's related to that, actually, what was just said. Some engagement in a petition where they actually do something that's connected to our whatever cause we're trying to promote. And the other thing that I had forgotten this, and everybody on this call would pass this test, I'm sure, but that the original 350 number was from the Intergovernmental Panel from, I forget what, I didn't know what year that was, Larry, but to anchor that number in the fact that it was from, I guess, a UN study or whatever. So yeah, that was good.
Hmm.
And y'all are experts already. I love this. Any more? Anyone else want to talk about how that went?
Well, I think one of the things we talked about was to the extent that we're asking people to contact their representative or senator, we have to have a device, either a paper one or an electronic one, right there to tell them who to call and how to make the call. Otherwise, we've lost that opportunity. The petition works without that, but the call your representative or senator does not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also after the fact, I'm going to send out a little toolkit with some just like additional materials to bring when you're tabling. Also, I can link that in the chat for you guys to look at on your own time. Which let me know if that link does not work and you can work it out. But yeah, this link it's just a folder with a bunch of materials to print out, bring to tabling. Yeah, I think a couple of the points that y'all touched on were a lot of the points that I was going to make and that I will make and reiterate again. I'm talking about best practices, just because, yeah, I think especially like people were talking about having like something for people to do when they come to the table, and like a way for people to, yeah, just like telling them how they can help very explicitly is super important. Yeah, Larry.
Want to say that you should always have enough people that one of your people can wander around all the other tables, because almost everywhere you go, the people around your tabling are potential allies, and it's especially if you're doing it in your own community, it's a good way to know people and make contact with people that will be useful allies or you to them.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think one more thing is it's always a little bit of a balance of kind of how much of it is recruiting to your organization versus engaging them in the causes of the organization, perhaps even in partnering with other groups. And I think that 350, I live in Acton, and I think we got a lot of groups here and not a whole bunch of 350 people. But there's been a lot of good solidarity and climbing on board different causes and actions together at the local and state level. So it's not always recruiting. That's a part of it, but that's not always just the only thing that we're doing.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's super important to reiterate also along the lines of like, making those one-on-one connections with people, just because that is like, you know, you don't have to look at it as recruiting, you just look at it as, oh, I'm meeting someone new who like, I'm excited to hear their story and I hope they're excited to hear my story. And I feel like that's one of the best ways you can really, you know, engage with people and, you know, talk about all this stuff. Um, so yeah, and does anyone else want to bring up anything that came up during that little exercise?
This is more of just a question, maybe that you were going to address, but just with our current political climate that, is sort of happening every day and changing in crazy ways. Just if you could, if people are bringing that up because lots of people are, I assume, are thinking about what's happening and, how we can kind of how can, while we're tabling, sort of incorporate, the current situation, in our campaigns when we're, just sort of like, oh yeah, we want to make polluters pay, and, you know, Trump doesn't. So like, I mean, I'm just saying like, how do we do that if kind of in that environment?
Yeah. Paul, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I have an opinion about that. Not that I'm necessarily, am right? Um, but I would say something like, it is terrifying. It is terrible. We got to make sure we win the midterms, and maybe we need to do more than that. Um, so working on that, if you can find a good way to do it, is also a great way to protect the climate,
Mm.
right? I'm not really sure what's the best way to work on that, right? But while you're worrying and working on that, we also need to keep protecting the climate because obviously the feds aren't. And the good news is, as frustrating as the federal stuff may be, we can actually make progress on the state level. We have. So you might find that satisfying to work on.
Mm.
Yeah, Mark, did you want to add to that too?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think that what we're doing on climate is, I mean, it's not direct resistance to Trump in the way, I don't know. There are a bunch of ways to do more direct things, such as what's coming up on Saturday. But part of the way you resist what he's doing is you get the states to not cooperate. And pushing forward on the climate change bills that we have in this approach is beyond not cooperating. It's moving forward while they're trying to push us back. So I think we should grant ourselves that level of importance in the fight.
Yeah, I think on that point too, especially, I liked what you said, Paul, about like just looking at where we can get wins on the state level, and where we have gotten wins on the state level. And so, yeah, I think it's also, yeah, it's a super important tool to keep in mind. Um, you know, People across the board are, scared of what's happening. I mean, rightfully so. We're all pretty, you know, taken aback every day, I feel. And so it's an important tool also to use, to have that strong hook to say, like, we're fighting fascism every day. Join us to get involved. People have been looking for ways to get involved for a long time, and especially now, I think people are, cautious but still excited about, joining the fight. And so I think a super strong point to hone in on and make sure that we, are able to deliver that clearly to people that we're offering an avenue to fight, and we're offering um, a place to get wins as well, not just, um, yeah. So I think those are all great points. Now I think we're going to move on, and I'll just talk a little bit about some tabling best practices. Dan, would you mind sharing the presentation here? Thank you so much. All right. So again, we already kind of touched on these a little bit. And you guys, read these, but I'll read them off as well. These were just three of the best practices that I came up with. So the first is to bring a tool to record people's contact information. And after that, to have a plan for bringing them into the 350 Mass network. It's so important to get people's contacts. That is the main thing. We've got to make sure that we're expanding our networks, and we can't do that if we can't reach out to people afterwards. The best way to do this that I've seen is to bring the 350 Mass sign-up sheet. I think, there are concerns about, we want to get people involved in all of our priority campaigns and all of our partner organizations, and just everything. We want people to be exposed to all of this so that they can pick, the avenue that they want to go down. But, when somebody's coming up to a table, we can't overwhelm them with things to sign and, codes to scan and all of that stuff. So making sure that, the 350 Mass sign-up sheet is a great way to, get people's contact information. And then later that day or the next morning, you can send them, hey, it was nice to meet you. We had a great talk. Here's a link to our website where you can explore. Here's a link to this petition you can sign. Here's a link to yada, yada, whatever else you want to send to them. Is a great way to get people engaged. And then also to keep people engaged after the fact. In that email, you can say, we're having a lobby day later this month. Save the date, and you can, we'd love to see you there. So just to reiterate, very important to make sure that we not only are recording people's information, but also that we have a plan and a structure in place for reaching back out to them and getting them involved. So the second point is to speak clearly and lose the jargon. This is, I feel like, in every field, there's going to be jargon. There's going to be experts. We're all, we've gotten this spiel on the priority campaigns. We know why we're here with 350 Mass. But, again, the people we're talking to might not be. They might be aware of 350 Mass. They might not know of it at all. And so it's important to speak simply and clearly, appealing to people's interests primarily. I think, not just to speak like in the context of the priority campaigns. Not everyone's going to know what a heat pump or a super fund is. And so, again, it's important to speak more broadly at first. When you're delivering your elevator pitches, you can say, be more broad about 350 Mass and then go more in depth into the campaigns themselves. And as people become more interested, they'll ask questions, and you can be like, oh, what's a super fund? I've never heard that before. And, can explain further. But again, it's important to make sure that we're speaking clearly, concisely, and being brief with it, because people will lose interest. And the third point is to have fun and be creative. There's no way to do this. It's all, human interaction. Everyone's different. Everyone will have their different ways of relating to people. Everyone you talk to will have their ways of relating to people. So there's no formula that works for talking to people. So it's super, 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 super important to be experimenting, using our imagination. I know for a fact some people here have experimented. So I think it's helpful also to think about the kinds of things that would get you to go to someone else's table, like what Larry was saying about going to other folks' tables. Because then I guess another point in that is that they have to give you the spiel first, which would be in the spring. But yeah, on that same point, what would get you to go to someone else's table is a, you know, they have like chocolates and you want a chocolate, or they have a fun activity, you want to, you know, spin the big wheel that they have on their table that looks fun to spin. Stuff like that are ways to get people to, engage with your table, just like on a visual level. Um, yeah. And so, Dan, can we go to the next slide? So now we're going to talk about envisioning this. Yeah, we're going to have a little section to um, have a much larger group conversation about how we can make tabling successful and engaging and meaningful. How we can engagingly present 350 Mass. Again, the most important part is talking to people and having conversations. And so there's so many creative ways that we can do this. I know people like to dress up, different dress up as different things, have different decorations for the table, have different activities for people to do. It comes up all the time, like having something to give to kids so that you can talk to the parents. These are all just, examples that have come up in the past. And so we can stop sharing now and we can just maybe open up the floor a little bit to talk about, I guess I'm thinking for folks who have tabled in the past, either with 350 Mass or not, it would be great to hear what has worked for you in the past and any challenges you faced. And for folks who have not tabled before or who are more new to it, just anything that has gotten you to go to a table, or any creative ideas that you have. We're looking for all of the ideas to come out. So yeah, half-baked thoughts or full-baked thoughts here. Carolyn, do you want to?
Yeah. In the last year or so, we have had a little, it's a little kind of a little kids kit about how to show solar panels. And so the kids get they put the electrodes together on certain things, and they get a meter to move, or a light to light up and stuff like that, and you put it in the shadow, and then it obviously blanks out, and so they get a chance to do that, and so they get busy with that. And then if you have two people, one person to talk to the kid and the other person to talk to the adult, then you've got it covered.
That sounds like an awesome activity. If
Yeah.
you have the sheet for that, I'd love to see it. If you able to find it.
I can find out what the name of the kit is. Sure.
Well, thank you for that.
That would be helpful.
Yeah,
Sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love those ideas.
I think,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay, I'm thinking that I think of myself as I'm going around to tables, or frankly, anything where someone might be trying to have me to twist my arm on doing something. I think a lot of people are concerned by lifetime sentences. Um, and I think what I mean by that is people don't necessarily know what it means to join and what the commitment really is. But I think it's easier if you can get a hook. There's this event, you can come once. We're an organization that's free, does not command, we don't have any power to do that. And, I'm looking here on the screen and I see Krista. And Krista, you came in about, I don't know, a year ago or so, was it? And I'm curious, if you don't mind, if I could pass it to Krista, because I think Krista's really all in. And I was wondering what drew you in. Was it a table?
No. Um, Actually, Paul.
Paul drew you in.
No,
Well,
Paul got
what got you to show up at the event?
but yeah, I'm concerned. I wanted to be politically active, and I care about the environment. And I came to a state house protest, but I never could find a way to get to a node to get closer to people. Which node I would take, I couldn't find that easily. I didn't make the effort to really look more into it. Also, when I worked, I didn't have the time. Then I was retired, and then um, still I needed to get and search further. I would have liked to have it easier. To find people to connect to me, and it happened with Paul. Paul helped me to find the node that I'm with right now. He actually also got me to speak with some of the politicians, which I was not prepared for, but I thought, oh, I'll just do it. I better get going, even with my accent and my English not being perfect. I just threw myself in there, and I thought, well, just do it. And it still takes me a while. It took me. It's still. I'm waking up a little bit more. What it's all about. What the node is doing. To be more a participant. That didn't happen right away. I'm actually, Paul, I made some business cards.
Already.
I'm picking them up tomorrow
Okay.
at Staples, but I made them the way I thought they would be good. But we can make different ones too.
Yeah.
So the idea to give it to somebody and with a QR code and something in their hands, and it's in a way more personal than any kind of advertisement. But I felt like I had to do a lot of work to get to where I am right now.
It is hard to join. It is hard. It's hard being new and not knowing where to start.
Yeah.
It is
so the
hard.
personal connection is always helpful.
Yeah.
And food too.
Oh yeah. That it's wonderful, the meetings we have. We all need community right now. And that is helpful, and meaningful community, if I can say it that way. Meetings that are meaningful, that's wonderful in so many ways, So if we can represent that too, that we are a community and not just there for the environment, but also help each other in the way, And you don't have to be active right away. You can listen in and see what fits for you. And what was very helpful, I talked with neighbors too. They don't want to go to a protest, but I said you can be active in so many ways. You bring the sandwich to people, or any kind of way, artistic. So that's an important point too. They right away think you have to be rambunctious and who knows what. That's all I can say right now, I think.
Thank you, Krista, so much for sharing. I feel like also a really quick call before you go. I just want to reiterate like what you were saying about how, you really wanted to be politically engaged and like you cared a lot about the environment, but like couldn't find this like outlet to express that. And I feel like so many people have that feeling. So it's important to, recognize that we're tapping into like this like desire for change that people have so strongly, and people want to be active, and so we need to give that to them basically, is I think super important to remember. So that's my probably to want to go to.
I think I was responding to your prompt, any other suggestions or tips about tabling? And a lot of people here are in my nodes, so we can talk about it there. But I really appreciate that you put the that Google folder together and I haven't read everything in it. I will look at it and see if I have anything I would suggest to add to any of those. And you obviously an owner. But one, for example, the sign up sheet I found is a little small. So I've found success making one that's bigger to get like basically, and related to that, don't let somebody walk away until you've read their email as they've written it and see if you can read it. About a quarter of the time, you have to rewrite it in your own handwriting.
Yes.
And you got to get that right.
Yeah.
Right. So more space makes that easier.
I've often gone over the spelling of somebody's email while they are right there to make sure and then I write in, translate whatever their scribble is.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes I make notes on the back of the sheet, like this person, teaches science at blah, blah, blah. It was interested in something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Isaac, I appreciate you saying like send a follow-up email to each person, because I have not made that a general habit. And what made me think what I should be doing is like, I guess because after the tabling, I always feel kind of burned out. Like it's really fun, but then I only take like no, not doing anything. But like that night or the next day is when you should send a follow-up email. So if you just pre-write the basic email template, that'd make it a lot more likely that you would do it, I think.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm taking away from this that I didn't think of before.
Yeah, that's good.
I love also the idea of writing down like next to people's names what they like, this person is like a physician or whatever, and like making sure that you're remembering who it was that you're talking to, so that if somebody was super engaged, you can make that email a little bit more personalized. And,
right. And for privacy, you might need to put it in the back. Like tall, chubby, bald dude, but really motivated. Whatever it takes for you to. If that's what helps you remember it.
On that note, I wouldn't go.
Just like riffing on this, I find that helps so much, because tabling especially is such a numbers game. You might talk to 300 people over the course of a summer or something like that, between festivals and tabling events and some great action that you run. And so you end up doing a lot of outreach, and you probably don't hear back from everyone. But when you have that note that's like, they're on the school board and they were really excited about, retrofitting the school, you go, oh, I should try them again. And I know why, like it helps sort of motivate you. It helps give you that reminder of how you can like connect on values. And, it's also like, oh yeah, when I sit down with them to get coffee, maybe I know where to start.
Yeah, that's a super good point too. And I think it reminds me just of something that I wanted to say earlier about, a lot of these skills, and like, especially if something like the elevator pitch is like not at all just to be used for tabling. Like that's something that you use all the time, whether it's talking to family, talking to coworkers, talking to, literally anyone. If 350 Mass comes up, having that like, this is what it is, this is what we do, is so important. And you can be meeting someone for something completely different and find out that you have these values in common. And that's just another person that you can connect with. Yeah, so important to keep in mind, Krista.
Yeah, I was wondering if when you sign up, if you can ask also, what are you good at? Are you good at writing? Are you good at art? Are you interested, or what are you? How can you help? So that we have a list they can just check off. Not a lot of writing, and that kind of helps out also with a conversation. How we can come to them, in which ways, so they are interested. That's just a thought. So
yeah, I think that's a great question to come to tabling with. If somebody is excited about engaging, you can just ask them at the table, what are you excited about doing? Are you like an artist? Would you want to join the art team, or would you want to help us with doing some sort of creative writing? People have so many skills that they are excited to use. And so asking that, just like as someone is getting, pulled into the org, that's also a great thing to have a follow-up conversation about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It makes people feel needed.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
People feel wanted. They feel that they actually have something to offer.
And they do. They
Mhm.
do. In the name of time, I think we're going to move on to some quick reflections. So I guess if anyone wants to speak up, and Paul, you mentioned this earlier too, but just if there's anything that y'all are excited to leave tonight with, um, if there is one main takeaway that you would bring back, um, bring out of this call, what would it be? And then also just thinking about how we can bring this information and this excitement for tabling to our nodes, and how we can kind of like, excite people to get outside and get tabling, and continue to have these brainstorming conversations.
Mm.
Yeah, Carolyn.
It made me realize that I have not signed up for the Franklin farmers market yet, so I got to get on the stick. And some other things about really shifting gears here into the tabling time.
Yeah, comes up quick.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy that our last node meeting, we had several people say yes when I asked who would be willing to help with the follow-ups. So maybe this spring we'll do it.
So I suppose maybe I'm speaking to my own note on this, but it seems to me we might want to have a follow-up of this meeting to talk about implications and applications for our node. So Paul, maybe you can take the initiative to do that, or I could, but
Great minds think alike, Andy. It's on the agenda for Thursday night.
and I'm not going to be there and I can't be on it. And that's why I want it to be separate from that. Anyway, we'll discuss that offline.
Yeah, we'll do it. It's never done. We'll just keep,
These conversations will keep happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here comes Steve Winter.
Hi, Steve.
Connecting
That was
audio.
right at the tail end.
Hey, Steve.
Impressive. Yeah, Jennifer.
Well, I just want to say that I feel less intimidated by the whole prospect because I'm not comfortable with tabling and with approaching people. So this made me feel better about it. So thank you.
Mhm. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, me too. I hate approaching people with stuff, and I feel like tabling is you just got to stand if you're got to keep up the energy. You can sit down. I mean, not to say you can't sit down, but you want to be engaging,
That's
but
right.
still just having folks come to you.
And a lot of it is reading body language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you may eventually find by some conversation starters that you feel comfortable using. That may be level 2. Like, want to take a climate quiz? Or care to sign a climate petition? Or
You'll have to share that climate quiz with people.
Yeah. Or do you own a private jet? Do you fly in private jets a lot? No? Okay. Well, then you might be willing to sign this. You might be like to sign this petition.
It's all of the creative ways to pitch the campaigns are
Paul, could you share this climate quiz with Dan so he can put it in the tabling materials?
Sure. I'll also add
and when I get this information about this little solar kit thing, I'll give it to Dan as well so that he can put it in the document.
Yeah,
I will.
Awesome.
I'll just mention that even that I should maybe remember the fun thing about the climate quiz, it explains why 350 is 350. And by the time you're finished, you've learned a fair amount of other things about climate. It's just one riddle. Why is it 350, right? The good news is people like it and it's engaging. The bad news is I don't have a great rate of converting it into something else. Like you had a lot of fun and they walk away. So I got to work a little bit on this segue too. sign something or do
I
something.
don't think that's totally true, Paul.
Well, at least you can get them to sign the sign-up sheet.
I
You
think
get a
more,
prize. You get a prize if you send me an email back or so.
You be the organizer of prizes.
Yeah, prizes will be distributed at the next node meeting.
Aha.
all right, and I will note it is 7 o'clock, so if anyone does need to go, feel free. Just before you do go, I'm gonna put um, a link to the 350 Mass website because there are many events coming up in the very near future, um, among which are a Save Money with Clean Heat Action Hour on Wednesday, a municipal resolution training on Thursday, a Hands Off Boston rally on Saturday, which I'm sure we've all heard about, and the Save Money with Clean Heat campaign meeting next Wednesday. I know there's a lot going on, and all of that information will be sent out to you again. But just to name it now, yeah, there's stuff happening, stuff still happening.
Great.
And yeah, thank you all so much for being here.
Thanks,
Thank-
Isaac.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Tabling.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Isaac.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Hey, Steve, you got here just in
Bye.
time.
Yeah, sorry about that. Had it wrong on my calendar.
Okay.
Oh, well, this was recorded,
It
so
is
you'll be able
recorded.
to watch it.
Yes.